Morning, everybody. You're all very welcome here in the room and online to the Goals Lounge. My name is John Gilroy. I'm the Chief of Service at the UN Office for Partnerships. One of our many tasks and responsibilities is being the gateway between the UN system inside and the wider world outside. And one of our really important tools or ways of doing this is this place we are right now. It's designed to foster different kind of conversations, getting interaction, get engagement, and come up with new ideas, get people to spark off each other. And that's what brings us here today. I'd just like to say a big warm word of appreciation to our great partners at UN Habitat, Tony Shea and the New York team, and everybody who's here with us from Nairobi as well. Always wonderful to work with you all. I will leave the contextualization to our wonderful moderator, Edelam Yemeru, who's the Knowledge and Innovation Program Director at UN Habitat. So without further ado, over to you. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and it's my distinct honor to be your moderator for our conversation. I'm from UN Habitat, and I'm leading the knowledge and innovation work of the organization globally. We are here today to discuss dignity, human dignity. To live a dignified life is an aspiration for every human being. We all want to live in safety, in privacy. We want to live without shame. We want to live without fear. We want to have security. Yet, today, this is out of reach for billions of people because dignity starts at home. In our world today, 3.4 billion people lack a place to call home, which is adequate. This is not someone else's problem. This is a problem that affects our communities, our cities, our lives, our families, our friends, without exception. This is a crisis for all of humanity. So we're here today to discuss and have a conversation. What does it take to restore human dignity by ensuring that everyone everywhere has a dignified place to call home? Our focus today is to answer this question, and we are honored and privileged to have distinguished global leaders and global actors who have been advocating for this agenda globally. We're going to start our conversation today with an exceptional leader. Elizabeth Bird, you're welcome, is an activist and a housing advocate, a founding member of the Leadership Collective of Unlock New York City. She works with New Yorkers every day. She has dedicated her time and her purpose to ensuring that access to housing is a reality for all New Yorkers. So we're really privileged to have Elizabeth here with us. Elizabeth will be sharing with us a testimonial of how housing actually shapes dignity in real life, on the ground. Elizabeth will draw on her lived experiences, her work in the community, and what she has actually seen on the ground. So Elizabeth, you're really welcome, and
thank you for having me here.
Privileged to have you here with us. And it's over to you, Elizabeth.
So, good morning, all. My name is Elizabeth Bird. I'm a single mom of 3 boys, 3 girls. Having kids is a full-time job. Getting housed was a full-time day job. My kids, growing up, were very appreciative. Why? The shelter was home. Wherever mom was, is home. I personally felt living in a shelter, I was in a prison with curfews, rules, inspections, informing you that you are not allowed a microwave nor an AC in your unit. Simple day-to-day appliances to make living easier were not allowed. And in some shelters to this present day, it's still not allowed. You have to fight to get those appliances in your unit. And I feel like the biggest thing that affected my family and I, you're not allowed no visitors in your unit. So for 5 years, the kids and I endured this. Caseworkers held me hostage by giving me wrong information. I had Section 8 when I went in. They said, you no longer have Section 8 because now you're in the shelter. And I believed them because who else is giving me the education? Who else is giving me the knowledge? No one. Years later, I would find out we could have gotten an apartment sooner. We will help you find a way out. I asked myself, after 2 years in shelter, how can I find a way to get my family housed? 3 years later, after being bullied by staff, threatening me to take away my kids because I didn't find adequate housing, with I want to say maybe 2 years of bullying, letting me know they will call child care protective services because you haven't found adequate housing. So I deliberated and I'm like, let me see what's out there. I found a studio, yes, with 6 kids. But I was so done with the shelter. So being in the studio in a year, I realized doing a lot of research, talking to different organizations, and because I have children, I got a housing voucher through the court system. And I was like totally ecstatic. The neighborhood in the park. But for some reason, this neighborhood in Brooklyn was different. Like, different. I personally went to Are you sure? Because we normally just go to the Manhattan parks. You never take us to the neighborhood parks. And I'm like, trust me, you'll look over. We had in the unit, we had an AC to keep us cool. We had the microwave we needed. Because you know when you have kids, you need that microwave. But I couldn't fail my children. The future, honestly, were in my hands. And I'm happy to say I have
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Elizabeth, for being so generous in sharing with us your journey and really giving us a sense of how housing runs through all aspects. We have a fantastic group of global leaders who will be joining us in this conversation and sharing with us their stories of Habitat, a leading global advocate calling for action on global housing crises. My pleasure also to welcome Shirley Price, Order of Distinction, Order of Jamaica, who has dedicated need a lot more of, and a youth activist who has been playing a role in the UN and globally in advocating for positive media, climate change, and youth activism. It's really my honor to welcome you all. Okay, let's get our conversation started. Has been doing on this agenda. Let me start with you, Ana Claudia.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Edlam. Good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here at the SDG Lounge and have this informal but very much interesting conversations. I think Elizabeth, in her statement, she said it all. This is an illustration of how life goes for perhaps almost 3 billion people living in inadequate housing in this world. And then 1 billion living in informal settlements, and the 300 million living on the streets, right? So they are all facing situations that are similar to yours. You also related to other aspects of SDG 11, and I was taking notes. You mentioned, for example, you never took your kids to a park. This is another indicator, public space, right? And this is one of the indicators that, according to our report that we launched just yesterday, is not looking good. I mean, actually, large part of the population, they don't have a public space or a park to go, but this is an intrinsic part, a part of, a dignified life. Mm-hmm. But perhaps what I wanted to highlight, Edlam, I don't have a personal statement to do, but throughout my life, I met so many women. And one case that I was thinking that really marked my life was the case of a woman living in the north of Brazil in the Amazon area. And this woman got a house from, and I see the Ministry of Cities is here, from a program, large-scale program called My House, My Life in Brazil. This woman got this house. It was back, I met this woman actually when, just before Habitat 3, when actually we were discussing the new urban agenda and Habitat 3 and so on. And this woman in this conversation was debating with professionals and others discussing the Brazilian report to the new urban agenda. And uh, some critics were saying, look, but this program generates houses that are not so nice, they are ugly, they are not so good located, and so on. And then the woman, she stood up and then she spoke so loud, so fiercely. And she said, you have no idea how my life was before this house. This house that looks ugly to you, for me, changed my life. Because before that, I had to spend my days carrying water. I didn't have water. So because I had to spend my days carrying water, it impacted my body. Now I'm facing I can work, my kids can go to school, they come back home, they have a safe place to have a safe meal and to do their homework, and they can stay at school. So for women, you know, there are so many aspects that are invisible and that we don't see. And this is why I think it's very important that, you know, we amplify the perspectives when we look ahead, right? The challenges of SDG 11 and ahead the next 10 years of the new urban agenda. And I'm so glad that yesterday we spoke a lot about co-creation. And I was also struck by the fact that Elizabeth didn't have the basic knowledge to co-create.
Yeah.
And this is a major gap that we have to overcome.
Thank you, Ana Claudia, for sharing that with us and how housing clearly can change lives, and in particular, how profoundly important it is for women across our communities. Shirley, would love to hear from you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Housing sometimes so fundamental that no person should have to fight for it. Housing is listed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 25. It says every person has the right to a standard of living adequate for health, well-being, and that includes housing. That means housing is not a favor, it's not charity, it's our right. We should not be fighting for housing, it should be given to us because it's our right. However, many of us grassroots women, domestic workers who live in formal communities don't have that right. Home's supposed to be the place where you rest, where you care for your family. But too often, home is another source of stress. The worry when you go to work and come back, the worry to pay the rent. I'm speaking from experience. And I'm speaking for where I worked for 20 years as a social development officer working in the slum with communities. So I know how they live, and I was there, so I can speak and share my experience as such. So when you go to work and come in, it is so stressful because where you're coming to, you know, cause so much stress, the worry whether the rent can be paid. You worry about eviction because even though you're working, you don't have the money to pay the rent because it's so small, it's minimum wage most times. When the rain falls, you have to be wondering what is happening at home. I'm not sure. You have to set different pans, the different containers, even before you go work. Rain not falling yet, you know, but you set the pans them because you have to leave to go to work, and you don't know what will happen when you are out there. Your rain may fall, and then it upset your catchment containers. This is the life of some of us. The children are not safe because there is no light, there's no electricity, there is zinc fence, and you know, it's just a threat for us that lives in the inner city. You have to spend so much time carrying water, a lot of, you know, for your daily needs. You come from work in the night, and then you have to walk for hours to get water to come back to look after your children or to do your daily chores because water is life. So sometimes where you live is just a safety trap because women are raped, they are prone to violence because they have to be walking so far to get water. So it's not safe. However, some of them are forced to even choose between paying rent and to eat food. So for me, don't having a house. It's like you stop living. You're just surviving. So when home can't give safety, it cannot give rest, it cannot give control, you cannot feel comfortable, it's dignity that leaks out.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. We'd love to hear from you now, Mariam, on your experiences on.
Have the opportunity to share with you some of the stories from my region and get inspired by your stories to share more and more even. So to begin with, I founded a company back home. Published on the good news. I was studying journalism at the time and I kept scrolling through my feed. I made it a challenge to myself that I need to find one piece of good news. I need something to keep me alive. Even though they were demolished, but they were safer for them. So we saw videos of refugees coming back to their homes, cheering, singing, very happily, very joyfully. But that wasn't safe enough for them from an emotional perspective, and they needed to go back to their homes, even if that means rubble. Then we need to question ourselves, what is a home? What is a house? But due to war, she was not able to. She was living in a refugee camp, and she was a lawyer technically. So what she did differently is that she took some pens and a blackboard and months prior to the war. So again, seeing that, it reignited something in me, which is we're not only speaking about homes, we're also speaking about the final story I'm going to share is from myself, which I was inspired to share when I heard Elizabeth's story. I'm always inspired by moms, and my mom is a very resilient mom. So like to secure for us a safe home. And due to the law enforcement and the laws that we have in our countries, my mom was not able to secure for us a safe home. And she secure and to be empathetic enough to understand what home means to each and every single person, and not generalize what home means based on our own definitions. We need to extend our lenses.
Each of us, but in the end, it does define our own sense of dignity, and also sharing with us a sense of hope, of change, resilience, particularly with youth being we would like to understand how can we drive change meaningfully for adequate housing to ensure and restore human dignity. So let me
started reaching out to organizations, right? And the power of organizing ourselves and then really influencing had no place to go, and this community was living in shacks. They were all living in shacks, but really simple shacks. And what happened is that about evictions, I think you, Shirley, spoke about evictions. This is daily life or weekly life for many families. And they were not able to put their kids on school because if and try to reach out to other organizations and so on. This is where I met them, and we kind of helped them to connect to the information. So what happened is that medium density, so they moved from shacks to apartments, decent apartments. So today the families still live there in the same area, so they have the right to stay there. The two of them got married and left the house. They have their own houses because today they are able to access houses. So their lives transformed completely.
amazing, I think. With us, Ana Claudia. Shirley.
Yes. Adequate housing to restore human dignity. anchors access to basic service. And is at ease. You know, you have a place you can go to organize to make sure that not just your family but other families are being taken care of also. You can go and feel like you're alive. You need parenting class, you need parenting, you know, it's so much. You know, it's not just a four walls. So it is holistically, you know, to take care of dignity is about closing your front door at night and know your family is safe. It's knowing your children have a quiet place to sleep. It's not having to choose between paying rent, as I said before, and food. You know, we need good housing so you can, or dignify housing then. Dignify housing is the word. And so you can have employment opportunity. Worker union is there. We are here working. It's all we are doing voluntary work. We need government or private sector and everybody to come on board to help us move the organization forward financially so we can help. Water and electric, everything is there. That's dignified home. Invest, as I said before, in women, and invest in government that works with the community. For dignity. We give people a chance to stand still and to grow and to feel belong. Because rights are not negotiable, you know. Restore dignity. So let us be clear. We will not accept a world where housing is treated as a privilege. We will demand policies that build and protect tenants, that families stay together. Development. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley, and really sharing with us that change is
so many things need to be changed on a global scale, as we were discussing. Policies need to change, funding needs to occur, so many things that are outside of our control needs to happen, that I think on the day to expect someone to learn about your crisis without actively speaking about it and figuring out what are the possible channels that will make more people educated about the very specific crisis that you personally are facing, because prejudice can get in the way, assumptions can get in the way, and you need to make sure that you own your narrative in her community and try to create a city out of nothing, try to create an educational system out of a non-existing educational system. Not that we're putting the responsibility on her shoulders, can reject that sentiment. Hope is what keeps us alive, essentially.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, your point around the need to speak up thanks for sharing that with us, Mariam. I want to do a quick final round with each of you and ask, before we open it up to the audience to interact with you,
message is, and perhaps I will repeat myself from yesterday, is really the co-creation. And you know, make sure that all perspectives are shared, about the community can get organized. So if you combine, you know, the policy, existing policies, even if they are limited, but the results are never, you know, what we expected. So I would say co-creation is fundamental.
Expensive, exclusion is a system must design for us, not against us. Thank you.
exclusion is expensive.
You might never know what their struggles are. I came here into this room not expecting that I myself faced a housing crisis at some point in my life. And then when someone else spoke up, I document what you're going through, because they make incredible stories. I come from a country where we were the oldest people to document our stories in temple walls, and these stories and these
your point around this being not a distant challenge when we talk about the global housing crisis. It's something that all of us have either experienced or ask questions. So inviting you to express yourselves, kindly introduce yourself and who you are, and
Morning. You hear me? Okay. My name is Lana Finnegan. I'm from Jamaica. I'm with Wyro Commission. I'm a It's a slum area, and we use a safety audit tool to engage those women. And they use that tool to gather information about the issues that are impacting their community. And they and the Disaster Risk Management Committee. The thing that they wanted was the street did not have any names. Why? Because of where it is. Say I'm being raped or I'm being in a domestic violence situation, they don't know where to find them. So street naming was one thing for them. You can see them from behind the fence that are now 4 feet high. The next thing they wanted was street light. So they got Newland Women Safety and Women and Girls Safety and Security Team. 2009, and they're still operating today.
Awesome. Awesome.
And good morning. And thank you so much for your sharing the stories, and particularly the mother there. We could, be with you. Resilient cities. And what we learned when we were negotiating or consulting member states was that we noted there's one denominator. They need to commit. Political will is needed to provide really dignified housing. And we have heard from the mother, we have heard we have come from a house, a dignified house.
Right.
But without a home, so what the call is, we need collective action. Here, you have heard next week, we need more of these voices to make the heads of state realize they need to make commitment, they need to invest, they need more cooperation, global cooperation, to make this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. In an informal settlement called Madare. And for me, I think one of the things that I've seen really promoting dignity in the women having a home is being assured that the home, if there's any documentation that is showing that this home belongs to so and so, you are HIV/AIDS, where women were seeking homes and other women were providing care, and issues of women being thrown out of houses every time when into the program that was happening with GLTN called the social denier domain model, where women were involved in remuneration and that is how dignity started being recognized. Even claiming like the toilets, these toilets belong to so and so, and the women putting their names as managers of the toilets. So we really
Thank you so much. Inviting you to intervene. No, just here first, and then I'll come to you.
Thank you. I am the I must say that I'm really thankful to all the panelists in terms of your very insightful presentations and also quite inspiring. It is late in the 80s, but please don't pick up your calculators. In the late 80s, mortgages were galore. You just start working for build housing for the low income families, and ODA would also sometimes come in to de-risk housing especially. The middle class and the others can take care of themselves. But affordable housing is really my concern. And this issue was always coming up. How do we get to be investing again in affordable housing? I thank you.
Thank you very the starting point for housing and for dignity, and of course, your point around how do we develop new instruments for investing in affordable housing. So your reflections, I'm bringing it back to you. Ana Claudia?
Yeah, first of all, get some consensus on that. But I believe the ambassador from Zimbabwe mentioned two important aspects: the role of the local governments, the mayors, and I mentioned and but then they don't have the resources. You mentioned the finances, right? So for me, this is one of the big gaps. So how we really make sure that the money that is out there, because there is money out there, really gets to where the money is really needed. Yeah.
Thank you. Shirley?
Down things and us. I'm gonna build 2 houses and no. What are the needs? Go work with your community leaders. Work with your community practitioner. Ms. Finnegan just spoke about bottom line is invest in your community organization, because they are the one that is making the change first. When all of the hurricane come and blow the still they are working, making sure the people are taken care of. So invest in grassroots organization.
Floods into the country is through gated communities, which are designed to be only for an elite segment of the society, and the money is not flowing back to building actual cities for young people. And through government enforcement, because otherwise there will be no incentives for the private sector to invest in such cities when the cash cow is already there with easy money when it comes to
that you would like to leave with the room today?
Honestly, speak up. If you don't speak up, how would we?
Adlan, excuse me, we had a question from a young person right over there.
Absolutely.
If we have a minute.
Coming back.
To kids, especially in underprivileged communities. And with rapid urbanization, today's youth will inherit the cities. Decision-making process.
Thank you. Would any of you like to react to that question? How do we bring youth into the conversation as drivers of action?
Of course, we have to start trying to speak their language, right? And reach out to them to start with. And then UNHAPTAT has a very interesting program in that. So this is one way, right? Using the game language, for example, which is their language. But you were right. I think we have to find more ways because we cannot leave the land consumption. So we have to find different ways. And what is the cities? What are the ideas and aspirations? So we have to find strong channels at all levels.
Thank you, everyone. A round of applause. I think we end with a very strong and clear sense that the global housing crisis is a crisis of dignity. Change to scale. It's also clear to us today that we all have a role to play. There have been calls for us to speak up, to share. Speak up and share and advocate for housing as a foundation for human dignity. Thank you very much.
you.